day yesterday. We'll go ahead and jump right into the review. A little bit late start today, but no biggie. I mean, basically, it just continued yesterday, right? We got off like right in E period as the market kind of started to slow a little bit right around that 200 SMA, and you can see there was a little bit of rotation before it finally broke back down, and then it started to really kind of balance lower, rejected the prices, and finished the day on a spike lower. Um, an interesting thought that I think that a lot of people might have suffered through yesterday. What the fuck is this thing? Um, and it got brought up to me by Jared because as soon as we got off the market yesterday, Jared, and it was like we were kind of like right here during E. Jared had texted, "Looks like the market's getting ready to go back up," and so I took a screenshot of the profile like this, and I said, what part of this profile makes you think that the market wants to go back up? You know, and he's like, oh, well, they got volume on the bottom. And I'm like, okay, you know, what does volume away from value mean? Right? I'm looking for answers here too. If anyone wants to chime in on the chat or um,
Is it like acceptance?
acceptance, exactly. So if we're seeing price so far away from value and all of a sudden a bunch of volume starts building, well, prices are getting accepted somewhere else, right? And so, and this is after seeing my dad's report yesterday as well. He kind of did the same thing. He bought the move down yesterday all day, um, and it makes for a tough day. And not only make for a tough day, it makes for like a day where you probably are battling back, where you almost feel like you're in the green, and then eventually you get smacked back down again and it goes red. Because I will secede that the market was very choppy yesterday, very back and forth. But for the most part, if you were just patient, you could have just sold rallies. I mean, early on we got a decent little up move. It wasn't big, and we were just taking little scalps early. But then, kind of once it broke down, everything else had turned red, and we had kind of said, well, everything is saying the market wants to go red. So until we can get back above the, I think we said 4,001, but this 4,275, really, you shouldn't be getting in any longs. And, it ended up being the right move. And that wasn't necessarily like a prediction. It was just that's what the market was doing. And so there was no reason to try to fight it. Um, but yeah, I think that's maybe a lot of people's struggles, and the commonality between Jared and my dad is they both use a 5 minute chart to trade on. I'm pretty sure either that or 1 minute chart. Regardless, they use like a smaller time increment chart than the TPO, and so sometimes all you need to do when you're trading, if you're feeling like, what the fuck's going on? Why am I not getting this right? Zoom out, right? When in doubt, zoom out, they say. But just look at the TPO, and it's like, okay, well, we're one time framing down from B period, because remember, we were in E period when we were having this discussion, from B period with good excess out of a zone that we had decided was resistance much before it got tested. Um, Even though as it got tested, we were getting kind of bullish, but then once it broke, obviously, um, you know, but if you were to zoom out, you see like, okay, B, C, D, E, right? We've got single prints in D, single prints in C. So there must be a fuckload of trapped long somewhere. And so even on any rally, the odds of it getting back all the way to this A low, to the initial balance, are fucking slim and none. And so every rally was sellable yesterday. And you had two spots to really know that you're wrong to kind of target against. Might have had to leave a little bit wider stops. I mean, or you could have just played the cessation. So, um, but regardless, good morning, Roach. if you are finding yourself in that scenario where you seem to be fighting the trend because of something like this, especially yesterday, because yesterday we opened and we went higher first, and we've done this quite a bit. We've gone higher first and then moved lower, or gone lower first and then moved higher. Um, you've got to have something that's going to twist you around 180 and be like, okay, I need to stop looking at these longs. The market's going down. Where's a good spot to go down? Or so, you know, I have to wait for a pullback now, or I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. Well, then that's it. Sometimes the best trade is no trade at all, as well. So, these are just things that I wanted to bring up because I've reviewed with a couple of people yesterday, and the struggles that they had yesterday on a day that I felt was pretty clear. Now I got off in E period. I didn't keep trading because I started playing the game. Um, but you know, that's kind of like the thought process. I know it was very choppy, and that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to admit that it was very choppy yesterday. But when you zoom out, right, and it seems very choppy because you might be zoomed in too much. So, just a thought.
Hey, something that I noticed yesterday, and I think I was talking to your dad about it, but as I asked him, and and again, I want to be clear that the counts are definitely not a perfect indicator, but you could see, and because this is the conversation I had with him yesterday, it's like you can see at the beginning of the day, it like starts out, and it clearly goes to the call side. The put side never goes away, but then toward the middle, or well, I guess around 11, it's like heavy 3 digits on the put side, um, for the most part, all the way down, and then it starts to get down into ones and zeros on the call side. Like that typically is going to indicate trending, not necessarily perfect trending, but trending. Because these numbers, so just so everyone on the call knows, these numbers are only based on the last 5 minutes of single minute candles. So these are not based holistically on the entire day. So whatever you see is the trending of what those numbers mean for the last 5 minutes. And it's not exactly, and this is what I was saying to your dad, was that it's not exactly like the tick, but it is very similar because it's based on market pressure holistically. So it's looking at, and mind you, it is looking at options, but it's also looking at the actual trending of the underlying price itself and the movement of the price itself. So it's actually following all of those things, and it's combined into one, which isn't necessarily a perfect example, but I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying. Is that it just clearly shows that the trending did switch, and then it was like very heavily focused on the downside.
Right.
And again, not to say that you have to follow it perfectly. It's just one of the indicators. And if you're constantly seeing yourself getting stopped out, and you're trying to go to the upside and you're seeing downside in that, or the tick, maybe you need to flip and or take a step back, like Brad was saying. I mean, it's just I think that's. I mean, I've been there so many times, so I totally get it.
All right. Got about 2 minutes left until the market opens up. Now's the time to get your shit together. Do some meditating. Morning Roach, morning Lecker, morning Tommy. And do what you gotta do. Call put counts are coming in 0 and 96 right now.
Just so we're clear, before market open, they are not necessarily as important as they are after open, because before open, movement in the options market is nil.
I just wanted
So
to say
those
it 'cause
numbers.
now I got the space on my screen and I can see it all the time. So
So after market open, that number is very significant because clearly the market pressure will show. But before market open, once those numbers start coming in, and they do change because of course the underlying changes prices, but the options information is going to be consistent, which means whatever that information is giving is going to remain consistent until open. So and it will fluctuate right before open, but I'm just letting you know that that's the after open, that thing is definitely very relevant for me.
So remember today, gap rules are in play. We are opening up on a rather large gap, about 20 points. We've got our VPOC low, we've got our TPOC high, so we'll kind of see how the tick opens up. We imagine that the sectors are probably going to open up, or the breadth is probably going to open up red, but if we get green sectors right away and we see the tick start to bounce, I'm not super impressed with the volume overnight as far as like any continuation. It more just seemed like a little bit of liquidation. So we'll kind of see what they bring. It looks like there's a decent size offer up at the 30 that they may try to attack. So interesting tick here opens up negative 1160 on the low. We're starting to gas here. All the sectors look green here. I think it's still pretty weak though. Oh, there it goes. See if we can get some upside here. A little range here. Sellers offered heavy the 26.5. See a little breakdown back right there. Yeah, looks like they want that 30. I really think so. There it goes. Let's see if they can get it. Nasdaq's looking strong here. Call put counts 29 calls, puts 91. Looking good. So now they've got the liquidity here. Because I mean, the offer was really kind of sitting at that 30. If they don't get any pushback down that doesn't take us below half back, we're probably decent to buy, assuming that this is going to back and fill, as most of the sectors are looking pretty strong. I'd like to see a little bit more continuation. But a lot of the sectors trying to close the gap as well. Tech is almost there. How's that kind of rolling over here, looking like it's going to come back to its VWAP though. If we can snag this 27. If these sellers get stuck on the 27 again, there might be a little play in here. Trade it back up to the high. They can't get anything going. A little bit of selling coming in there on the 27. More selling coming in 24.75. So the offer's trying to move down. We got below that half back, so the play's kind of off there. And look to see if they defend the open. Tech starting to come back to zero here. Not a great look from Tech. Short-term traders on this 24, I think. Call puts 29.91. So leaning pretty heavy towards the put side. Decent, decent volume coming in. Seems like there should be enough volume for the bot to get in. Won't know until someone counts an AMD. Oh, okay. Morning, Sebastian. So we're kind of just sitting right on top of the VWAP here, right above the open. There goes a little bit of liquidation there. Right back to where these sellers started covering last time, it looked like. This like 24 area. Offers moving down here to that 26, trying to grab control. But you just see upticks, right? So sometimes when you see stuff like this, like you see, like market tried to go down right there, right? Did okay, got a little bit of liquidation, scared out some weak-handed longs, but couldn't break below the open. I mean, maybe it did get below the open just barely, but not by much, and really just kind of respected the VWAP. So now that we've, kind of had that first test of the VWAP above, here, if we don't make a higher high, which it seems like we should, but if we do, we should run like right to 41 where all the volume's at, or maybe 35. But if we don't, then there's good odds that the market is going to have to dip back down to where it kind of consolidated all night. And you see there's kind of two spots. There's like an 18, 17-ish area, and then this like 12, 13 area. So, I mean, there it makes a high by one tick, but if it doesn't get that continuation higher here, then you've got to, take your long off, take your profit, and then be patient and let it come back to you if that's what you're going to look for. Or if you're looking for it to roll over because you don't want to go against the gaps, you're going to have a decent opportunity to fade with this 20 contracts on the high if this thing starts to fizzle out and can't get really up above this 35. So if you took that fade there, your opportunity is, to take profit has come and gone. You had to be quick. We came down to almost to the VPOC, back and filled, and then you see it just jumps over kind of weak levels, the 28 being the level that I'm kind of watching here, showing weakness from sellers early on. And it looks like the tick wants to get above zero for the first time today. Calls at 10, puts 107. So still pretty heavily leaning to the put side, which is pretty normal on a gap day, I feel like, at least looking back. Apex must be having to like pay their tax bills soon or something, because I've been getting so many text messages about a flash sale. Don't even have an account with you guys. Don't text me. So still struggling up here at the 35. Excuse me. Just kind of tested it once, tested it twice. Now back down to this 30. I'm watching this 28 level. Below the 28, I think we can get below the open. You start to see some of what we talked about, right? We couldn't get there, and then come back over here to the VWAP, and you kind of see where they built up steam, which was like down here, this like 16, 17, and then this like 10 to 12, 13 area. I mean, it's kind of like this whole area right here, but I like this like maybe like 15 to 10 area better. So the tick barely pierces the zero and then rejects here. Weighted AD still barely hanging above zero. Breath is still red. This is not, so like, if the market was going to pin down, right, like the market was just going to go down, one, we'd be seeing these sectors red, but we'd also be seeing these below 1500, like I said. So the NASDAQ looks kind of shitty here, and it's getting through its VWAP right now, and that's why I think it might take the ES with it, which is why I think we have an opportunity here. But if it starts getting 15 and below, or if it's positive 15 and above, that lets you know, like, You really don't want to be in the way of that because that's just going to rip your face off. There's the open. Take some off right here. This was kind of the impulse area to this 23. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to take a couple pennies off right here. Tech has gone red. There's that break below the VWAP. To the open. Fucker, let's just go down. A little bit of short covering there on the 20. Let's see if we can hold below it. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to flatten out completely. Fuck it. I always do this, and then it keeps going. No play for the bot. Yeah, pretty slow day. 14-point range. And I just closed my short, so we'll probably fucking rage to the bottom now. Even though it kind of looks like tapering here, developing, right? Maybe not necessarily yet. And like I said, I kind of like this 15 to 10 area as an opportunity, possibly to be a consumer again. Might even have to be like to here. This might have to be like a fairly decent size zone to try to qualify. We can just assume it's gonna act distance for now. Yeah, see, so it kind of looks like a little bit of tapering starting to develop underneath the open. So just be careful here. I'm not saying that it's a buyable opportunity because nothing is telling us that, you know, it's smart to get long. But if the market starts to just spend time here, then there's your opportunity, right? But if we just hang out here for a little bit, come down, hang out, come down, don't try to time those. Those are going to be want to be go with. And really, if this zone doesn't hold down here, that's going to be a go with situation as well. And you know, obviously the market's going to be. Hang on, check this big. The market's going to be looking to take this excess, because this is like the last excess from the impulse, and you kind of see where we're at. We're right at that 24 at the balance. So this is excess. Then we had the gap, so we trapped a bunch of shorts. So if there was a bunch of intermediate term shorts, it would make sense that they all try to cover around this area, and then we still have one set, or actually two sets of single prints below us, right? But it would make sense if they try to start the cover right here in the first start of these single prints. And that's why I'm thinking maybe there's some opportunity right here. We get some shorts that cover, some overnight shorts that cover, maybe some opportunity back up. But I mean, this is kind of a classic situation, like where we're looking bigger term here because the market's just kind of slowly bleeding out to the bottom. You get this gap, we gap above it, and then we spike down into it yesterday, and then we gap below it today, right? So we've talked about how, like, when the market has like troubled areas, a lot of times it just skips over them because it just, you know, whatever it is, it just becomes too difficult to deal with the level and has to skip over it. So what I'm interested in, since we're getting back below this gap that we've been holding for a long time, there's got to be some intermediate term shorts trapped. And where would they start to cover? You know, makes sense inside these single prints. I mean, really, I guess those are traded through. Not a lot of volume, but excess here, and then the previous single prints down here, 79, 38, 79. Starting to see a little volume come in here. Little offer right there. Offer trying to move down to the 21, it looks like. Remember, 23 was kind of that big impulse area at the open earlier. And it looks like they're just trying to front run that open. They don't want to give people the chance to get back up there. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to push it down here. Buyers are stepping up on 21.5 aggressively. Back to the 20. So it's a really, really kind of a battle zone here. Like this 21-20 here, they're just kind of, to me, it looks like sellers are trying to front run the open to not give, to almost kind of keep the short hands in. Kind of like doing sellers a favor here. They don't have to close their longs because they, or their shorts, because they know if it gets above the open, that's where their stop loss is at. So if they just keep holding it below the open, there should be, you know, they feel more confident. Sellers trying to hammer still. Sectors are all kind of flipping red. Weighted ADs going a little bit more negative here. We got 7 minutes till the next bar. Be right back, guys. Well, there we are. So here the key is the open, guys. It's the open. You've got a little bit of tapering forming, but volumes coming in below the open. So we're having like a little half pipe, but we're on the back side of it. So even if we get a taper, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't get continuation. What it does is it lets you know if we do get continuation and I'm long, I need to not be long. Right? And I'm not saying you want to use a 5-point stop, which really relatively isn't that bad because you're looking at like average trading range on a 30-minute chart right now is like 10 and a half. So you're using a half ATR stop. That's actually not bad. NASDAQ about to put in a corner kick. Morning, Dad. Might have 24, 25 area. Oh, like to get up to? Yeah. Yeah. Everything's flipping back to green. Tick is really popping. We pop the open. That's a lot of stops. So the key here would be buyers step up on this half back and we stay in this distribution, this upper distribution, right? As you can kind of see, you know, the multiple distributions in this profile, but we want to see volume start to really come in up here to get continuation. If we don't get this continuation really below 24, which is where the thin spot's at, we've got to call it a day.
22 is the breaking point I got.
22. Oh yeah, I see that. There's a
Yeah.
blue spark there too as well. So they didn't hold half back. They're back to the open. If they back and fill or if they fill it back. My volume is lower than the voice of the others. No, they always tell me that. I think it's because I fucked something up. When I play Reveille, because I got to turn the volume up for Reveille. I think it's fixed now, though. Thank you. It's falling apart. It kind of jumped down right there. Look at the NASDAQ AD here. Starting to get 1500. This is where it starts to get, like, bad. It starts to stay there. Just watch which way the NYSE goes. If the NYSE starts creeping down, which it's trying to, it's going to start kind of giving us more odds of a downtrend day. Trouble getting over. Yeah, Roach. Yeah, that was a good call.
Yeah, I was trying to say it might have trouble getting over that 24, 25 area, but I fucked up the typing. It got over it though.
Barely.
Got over it, just it
Yeah.
got rejected then quick. Yeah.
Yeah, I went over for
Fell
like a
apart.
second.
Yeah, it fell apart like you said.
Yeah. But not really. Didn't really go anywhere. Kind of fell apart, but then just stopped.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm thinking it's getting a little choppy here now too because of that. If it just rejected right off it and went down, well, obviously it wouldn't be choppy then.
I was looking for more of that news. I don't know if you guys saw anything about the what's it called? Like the Russian news about how he's actually going to declare war or whatever. I looked for it yesterday and could not find it.
I didn't hear anything. I don't really pay too much attention to the news though. I mean, trading news a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's all bullshit. It's funny how the news always, even the trading news always comes out at key areas, and then it does what it should. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's designed for sure.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with technical and that. You know what I mean? It's always at a technical area, and then boom, some kind of crazy news comes out, and the market dumps back down to value or below, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Trouble getting over there again. Same spot. Not much going on. We're just kind of hanging out right here in this 23 spot. It seems to be the pivot today, the open. And you could see for like the past little bit, the tick has basically remained kind of in a relatively tight spot on both sides of the 0 line. Hello? Yeah, sorry about that. So what I was saying is we've seen the tick kind of like be relatively like in this area. It's getting to the high of that area right now, for like the past, since about 9:57. So for about the past 10 minutes. Back to that 30 level. This was kind of like the key level that it rallied to this morning, and then, kind of struggled after it got above it. So now it's kind of struggling to get to 30 here. Climbing back up. Weighted AD is going positive right now. The tick's starting to hold above 0. To the VWAP. Offer moves down to the 23 here. Right on the open. A little bit of short covering right there off that low. 35 contracts on that low. It was kind of just, to me, it seems just like a liquidation, especially if we bounce back up to the 23. That really just seems like a liquidation, if anything, just because, I mean, like, why would we bounce back up? I'm trying to reoffer here, though. But it seemed like that's where the liquidation started at 23. So let's just kind of play against that, the open, of course. So volume's coming in lower here. Decent, decent volume. Down here at the 17, they're trying to reoffer this. Big seller there, 17 quarter. We pop up immediately. But then we go right back to it. 18 quarter, some more selling. 17 quarter was that big seller there.
I don't know what's going to happen here, but kind of feels like they're sucking shorts into me.
It does
I don't
feel
know.
like that to me as well. The Nasdaq just popped up too. There it goes. Nice. Fuck yes. Let's go. Nasdaq back to the VWAP. Dude, I'm telling you guys. All right. It's the Nasdaq, like, it just trades the VWAP. That's all it does. That's exactly how it trades.
What do you mean when it gets like a distance away from it? It just
No,
goes, it
like
just,
so here. Um Ray- this okay. So this is what my Nasdaq chart looks like. And I'm just trading the micro on the Nasdaq because the regular Nasdaq, it can get damaging, you know what I mean? So I just trade the micro. Um but if you look, if we zoom this out, so like here's the cash session. Cash session starts 9:30. So it's at the VWAP, it goes below the VWAP, comes above the VWAP, can't do anything, right? And so basically what I do is I wait to look at the Nasdaq till it gets to one of the deviations, right? So it can't get to the upper deviation. So it comes back to the VWAP. It traded through. I didn't get a chance to trade it. Um, but I only took the one trade, 10 points, whatever. But it's nice. It's a nice, like, because I'm eventually gonna trade the real Nasdaq. And if I could start
yeah.
catching 10 points on the Nasdaq in fucking 1 second, That'd be great. But anyway, so it comes back below this deviation, right? Can't hold, gets above. That's to me, that's, especially if the rest of the market is looking like decent. I'm basically like thinking we can buy this, and then you'd have to put your stop down here, which would give you like a 30-point stop, but you're looking for a 40-point gain. So, and you could just move your stop up as it goes into profit, right? But kind of the same thing. It hits the VWAP, comes back down, can't get below this. You could buy it again, looking to go back up to the VWAP. It goes up, can't get over it. Then you got to flatten it, comes back down, can't get below it. I probably wouldn't take that. But this one comes down below it after it couldn't get above, gets back above. As soon as it gets back above, I was like, okay, let's buy it. And then, I mean, I just, flattened it quick because the market is not looking super confident right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it did go all the way back up to the VWAP. And so basically this is just something that I'm kind of like trying to develop, basically.
Yeah. Fred, does the ES do that too? Because I haven't traded them, but I've heard of other people trading the deviation even on the ES, and I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how they do it, but they do it fairly.
The
They don't not as well.
I don't know. I don't think so. But some people do,
Oh,
and I believe me, like my buddy James, a big VWAP person, and then like I know JJ over there at what's his thing called? Shadow Trader? No, that's Peter. Whatever, JJ, he's an ex market maker. He's from Canada. But he's big into the VWAP as well. I mean, it does have to do, it does have something to do, with it, but on the ES, it's not as like instant gratification, I guess, as I feel like it is on the NASDAQ. Like the NASDAQ is it's like a ping pong between the deviation bands, whereas like the ES, it's like, you know, it's like a chop fest, or it's like a fucking like you spun a football on its side, and it's like it's going there, but it's going in a circle on its way there. You know what I mean? It's like it's a fucking mess.
yeah.
Like
It worked. It worked. Basically, it worked better on the NQ, is what you're
I
saying.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious because I did hear people like I've had the VWAP, but I don't use the D. I never had the deviations on my chart, but maybe on the NQ I looked at it and see because I watch the NQ, but I don't trade it. I used to, but I don't trade it now.
Yeah, toss those deviations on there and see. Let me know what you see. Because
Yeah,
it'd be nice to get the insight from somebody else.
yeah, I'll watch it on. Like I said, I like it on a Renko with the high Kanashis. I'll put it on. It's a little smoother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have it on 20 range.
20 range. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look at that too. Yeah, thanks, bud.
Yep. What's interesting here, Morning BJ. What's interesting here is that we didn't close the gap, right? We're coming down to the trend line here. Tick still holding below zero, and the sectors are kind of starting to roll. Weighted ADs even getting a little bit more negative. We might be in tune for a little bit of continuation from yesterday here. Especially like Roach was saying, that 24, I mean, we got above it a little bit, but it's been a struggle fest right there, right above the open. So I would say if you're looking for a long, you would be safer probably at this point now, I mean that first spike low to the B was a nice buy, but at this point now, I would say that we might get a little bit of well, I would just say if you're going to get long, let the market get above the open and then use the open as your pivot. And then, I mean, really, because the range is so small, 20 points, you can't really be targeting something crazy. So if you're looking from the open to value area high or the 30 area, which we've seen kind of be like a little obstacle. I don't, it's like they're smashing it below this VWAP. Tech's gone back to red. They're just smashing this thing down right now. Like compressing it, not like smashing down like price, but like they're compressing. Like look how tight the range is getting in the past like 5 minutes. Even like past like 7 minutes, I guess. Like 20 to like a 4 point range. And like in this kind of situation, like I would say you're better off just waiting it out because it could really either just blast up to the high or blast up to the low. And it's better, I think, like if we blast up high, come back, hold the open, boom, you could buy it, look to take it up to the 30. If we blast lower, look for it to hold the impulse, which is like 19-ish, which is where it looked like they were trying to come to the offer, and then, you know, fade that back down towards the B low. VWAP Trader 1. Yeah. No, I was trying to think of what the company that he works for is called. But I couldn't. It's like Micro Futures, I think. It's Discord and stuff. Which is a good Discord too. Good community. I think it's $50 a month. 30 bucks a month. Something. It's relatively inexpensive. And he does a lot of like classes too. If I'm remembering correctly. So there's the back test of the 19, and so here's basically what you look for. You look for the offer. If they re-offer this here, Offer came down to the 18 quarter, so they moved from 19 to 18 quarter. Sellers are still moving down here. They keep struggling at this 16 area. Value area lows at 15, so you could assume people are buying. Value area low. Because what's one thing we can assume today, right? We gotta be always thinking about these things, and I guess we don't really talk about them a lot because they're more just like assumed thought processes. But if we talk about them more, they'll kind of come up more, I guess. So as we're trading today, it's been an hour, right? C period just opened up 1 minute ago. What can we assume about the market so far? Yeah, the Nasdaq was holding up the ES today, still is, and it's getting worse and worse. So I think there might be some more downside here. What do you guys think?
Like balancing lower, like getting accepted lower, maybe.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely happening. But just based off of the first hour of trading, right? We can assume one that it's only short-term traders so far until we get extension from B and A, right? So if C period doesn't start to give us excess or extension below the Globex low, then we can basically assume that all the selling has basically been done, right? All the selling is completed. Only a breach of the Globex low would give us the indication that more selling is wanting to happen. And that's only because we have the A and B, right? So when it was in B period, if B period kept going down, I didn't really like this area down here anymore just because it was B period. But now that A period and B period are done, if we get C period, which would show an other time frame trader entering the market, if we get extension past the B low, but if we fail to get past the Globex low, that would give us a sign that there is there is weakness in that other time frame seller, or that extension of initial balance was caused by a liquidation rather than an other time frame seller, to give people the opportunity, right, to get into the market. It's kind of sounds complicated, but that's kind of how the day, as the day develops, so does your like thought process about the day. So like during B period, I was like, I'm only gonna sell this, but now that C period's kind of just hanging out, if C period breaks lower and gives a liquidation, which would be kind of like a last chance to shake out longs and trap momentum shorts, failing to break the Globex low, there's an opportunity there, but I'm not getting long here, just kind of hoping, like I said, I want to see the market get above the open to really convince me to get long anywhere else besides in my little green zone. And even this green zone still is going to have to qualify, not going to just be like, oh, well, we're in the green zone right now, I'll just buy it.
Yeah, up until this point, the overnight session, it's got like a double distribution. So just looking at the profiles, it's almost like up until this point, you could assume that lower distribution had trapped shorts in it. And that's why we're like, today's profile is like kind of sitting on top of the middle to upper half of the bottom distribution, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree.
So if we can't get below that, then those people buying back long enough looks like support for other people to jump in long.
Well, that's what's so interesting is like you see like most of this volume comes in, right before the market opens. So if these are momentum shorts kind of piling in, going along with what you're saying, then they're getting back to break even after they were just underwater, 25 points. They're like, you know what, I'm just going to take it. Or if they re-shorted and now they're in profit, but, they're going to take it. So, you know, going along exactly what you're saying, like we can basically see that they tried the lower side and were just unlucky or just could not get it. And you got a 30-point rally almost. And then when the London closes, what, in 30 minutes or 25 minutes, so that could be when you start to see them all capitulate or call it a day. Time for tea.
Time for tea.
Well, yeah, if they're in England. We're covering on the 11.5. They're trying to move down. Weighted AD is getting even lower here. You're just seeing kind of this little block right here, 11.5, kind of just hold. VIX is climbing up. VIX is back up 21.5. Dollar still doesn't look amazing. TNX doesn't look great. Also looks like a bag of shit. The Dow's is getting a smackarooski. They're kind of filling in this lower area here. And so think about this, guys. This is what I want. As we're doing this like chop lower, and this is how they got everybody yesterday. And they're trying to do it again today, but I don't think it's gonna work today. I think we are gonna go back up later. Once this eventually dies out. But they did this yesterday where they'd move it down, they'd move it up, they'd move it down, they'd move it up, and they do it all in like this 5-point range. And basically what they're doing is they're just taking stops off of all these people trying to scalp momentum. Right? They're like, oh, you want some momentum? Psych, take your stop. Psych, take your stop. Psych, take your stop. Oh, you think we're about to pop? Psych, take your stop to the downside. Right? And so then these market makers are able to build up all of the inventory. And if we look, we can do this piece by piece. Uh-oh. Okay. So look, they build up all this inventory here, move price lower. Let's merge it back. And so you can see the volume here, right? You see the break here because they moved it lower. And then people tried to buy it. Another break here. A little bit of a distribution here. And inside here, remember, it was all choppy. And we're right near the 4,000, a little blah, 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 blah. Like, you know. And then even when we got down here in E period, it did the same thing. Look at all the volume that came in right around this area. Chop, 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 chop. And then eventually puked them. And that's what it's doing in these areas, is just accumulating this volume. So if you're here, right, if the price is here and we're just kind of bouncing around inside this area, doing a little bit of this on a day that looks like this, right? We shouldn't be we shouldn't be getting into this, right? Which is the same reason why we're not getting into this, right? Yeah, it's a tighter range. Yesterday was a lot longer. You know, I mean, you can see moves down. See, it moves down. Value, 1 TPO, 2 TPOs, 3 TPOs. Value also moving lower. You know what I mean? So these are like key indications that we just don't, you don't go against that. There's just no point. And like I said, sometimes the best trade is no trade. And if you're not confident or you're not sure, no shame in your game if you just, do nothing. Morning, Patrick. Here we go. Weighted AD's continuing lower. Tick is trying to get lower as well. Rejected the trend pretty good. Yeah, crypto is just kind of chilling. I'm surprised, to be honest. But I mean, like, also in the big scheme of things, this is, I mean, this is not really down that much. You know what I mean? We're just right back at the high balance. I mean, not that long ago, we were just over here. We had this kind of straight up, and then, or kind of, it was kind of stairy, I guess. Little stairs up, elevator down. So there's a nice tick hitting below that 1,000. A little short covering there at the 9.
So with only 21 contracts on that low, are we actually thinking that it's looking more like it's leaving unfinished business and it's going to try and take that low back slow?
Not thinking that that was the low.
You think that's it? You think it's not going any lower?
I mean, I think it's gonna go. I think it might go. I took a long, but as long as we stay above this 9.5, I'm gonna stay in the position. I have my stop literally on that 21. So if we go lower than the low, then I'll be out of the position. But um, as soon as I saw that short covering, I just started, getting in a couple and then taking a quick scalp. I don't know. I'd like to see it kind of balance. Um, I'd really like to see D period open up and not really get any continuation before I start believing in the long side. But for the most part, I'm still leaning down. Like if we get a nice bounce that doesn't sustain over the open, I'm gonna get short for sure. And I had a short and I cut it too short. Well, I cut it too quick.
Cut it too early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Story of my freaking life, dude. Definitely been there. Looks like there's a hard push to take this thing lower, but it's kind of just like, not fizzling, but it just,
It's like
just not.
it's like a slow bleed.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you could see that there's, so, I mean, the counts are 0 and 222, but I mean, it's just not moving. Volume has to be crazy, right? Is volume higher?
400,000.
No, volume is lower than yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of light.
Wow. That's interesting.
All right, England,
Well,
it's time to go get some fucking tea. Wrap it up. Close your fucking shorts out.
The bot that would have, well, the new model is right close to even, or right close to getting out. It's about 5%, so 22. So it's about, I don't know, AMD does not have to drop very far for it to get out. It's really close. But it has not exited yet. I'm not completely convinced it will exit before it actually tries to head back up. But we'll see. It's gonna be a battle.
Yeah. The kettle is boiling. I'm gonna have to get a kettle actually for hot water because the kids love hot chocolate and it's cold as fuck here sometimes.
This is probably the warmest January I ever remember in my life. I'm sure your in-laws said the same.
Yeah.
AMD has had a put count in every candle for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. For the last 11 candles, 1 minute candles. It's had a put count in every single one of them. Not saying that that means it's going to move down, but just saying that there's a lot of pressure for it to
Sounds like it's
try.
overput.
Well, and that may be.
Just kidding.
Maybe it's off-putting.
Overput. Yep, that's very off-putting.
I don't know, dude. I really need to spend time and go and correlate all these things so I can look at and see what the counts, because it's hard because I can only do it based on the current model that our current ticker that I'm looking at, but there's got to be a correlation with some of these where I get like something like that where it's just really pushing or putting a lot of counts in on whether or not it's actually going to make that to the downside or if it's just lots of volume. Hard to say.
The NQ is falling apart.
Which one?
The NQ is not falling apart. I mean, it moves.
We broke Globex.
Yeah, the NQ is going down.
Well, my position that I took, because I don't play the new model yet with the bot, will be
No,
here
the
any
ES
moment.
holds support here. If the ES holds this support and the NQ starts to bounce.
No, it's over, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to the downside,
It's over.
or it's going to the upside. He's all no. He's gonna call the what was it, 4109? What was that number? I cannot remember that number.
I think
Where
it's
you freaking called
4105.
it. 4105, you're freaking called that. I don't even remember. It was like freaking 20 minutes or 30 minutes into the day and you call it. And I don't remember. I think it was Jared you were against. And we were like 70 points away. And it freaking just went up, hit it when I think it went to the 09. And I was just like, Brad, how do you freaking pull that out of your ass? I just don't get it.
Psychology.
So I called up all my friends and this is what I said.
I was like, listen, don't embarrass me. Yeah, okay. Not gonna like me if you embarrass me. So the next spot down, really, since this spot didn't hold, and we'll just turn it to gray because I'm not really convinced that it's gonna act as resistance if we trade back through it. But you've got single prints down here, and then all of excess. So this excess could still act as support, and you would still assume that a longer term buyer remains in control. So we can go ahead, we'll mark this low here. Then we'll change the tune here to damn it. I need more numbers.
Well, D's gonna open here in a minute.
Yeah, let's see what we get here with D.
I think D's gonna sort of set the tone. If D freaking hits it and pops up.
I would say 9 times out of 10 on the reversion to mean trades, which is kind of what this would be, because you really can't expect much above a 23. We could get a rip up all the way to the VWAP, or all the way past the VWAP up to the 30, where we've seen kind of some resistance. But more times often than not, you're better off waiting for this next TPO, which is D in this case, to open up and play against the C low than you are just trying to pick a spot on the way down. Because at least then you can have more or less defined risk. Of course, like, that's kind of like the one thing about options that people like, oh, my risk can be defined. But the thing is, a lot of times people buy an option and they're like, well, I'm just going to hold it forever. So if like 90% of options expire worthless, that's really not a great strategy. And that's kind of what you're doing in the situation where you
strategy. It's just a losing one.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you're doing when you're trying to like time the bottom, like buying the low, right? Like, yeah, it'd be nice. You got a 6, and let's say it doesn't come down to the 6 at all, and it keeps going up and fucking rages, and you're like, I nailed it. And it's like, today you did. But more often than not, that's not going to be a winning strategy. Like my uncle's saying, like it's a strategy, but it's a losing strategy. And so you'd be better off if D period came up, right? You get in somewhere.
In that book, Thinking in Bets, it's interesting how many things are in our mind that we don't really know if it's winning or losing, but we've made up our mind about it and say this is a winning strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we keep playing it even though what we're ultimately doing is just reframing a losing strategy in our mind as a winning strategy, which ultimately kills us.
Yep. And that's why like the psychology aspect of it is so important. Like not only trying to understand the psychology of your competitors, but also trying to understand your own psychology and what kind of makes you tick. Buyers are lifting the offer here. If we can close these single prints, takes above 0. Market trying to get back to that 50 SMA, which is, you know, like our line in the sand for the trend, kind of. It's a kind of like an automatic trend line almost. Little absorption up here at the 11. Definitely gonna pop though. Little volume increase coming in here.
We haven't had a call count in 16 minutes. Just FYI.
Well, we've got stuck shorts all over now, so.
That's true. Looks like there's a lot of short selling. That's for damn sure.
See what they do with that bid on penny.
There's
Shorts covering, sorry.
There's-
That's what I meant,
Took it
shorts
out.
covering.
There's no way that this 11 holds. I don't think. Maybe it goes to 11 quarter just to clean it, but that was a pretty interesting absorption right there on the DOM. 936 contracts traded on the 11, all on the ask.
Yeah,
That's-
then they took that bid out at 10.
Yeah.
See if they get back above it.
Well, they are. That was their take profit. That's all that was. Like, we need a little bit more inventory down here. Scoop it up.
They
Then
just
they-
hit the 9.5.
Let's go.
I think they're stuck on 9.5.
I don't think they're in. I think they're gone. I think that was a scalp. I think they shorted that 11. They absorbed
No, I
everything.
think
Oh, go
they
ahead.
just sold the 9.5 again, though.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and it popped right back up.
Oh, okay. I see. It's kind of weak though. Kind of weak, yeah.
Yep.
See if they- Still pretty decent volume coming in right now comparatively to the end of that C period.
You said 9.5 was where they were trying to sell it. They had an offer.
No, they got stuck on 9.5, but they just went back right through it now.
Yeah, they popped it. And
10 even was an offer. They had a big bid on 10 even. They took that out earlier.
Dang, one hell of a battleground. That's for damn sure. It feels like whoever wins is going to pop it pretty hard.
I mean, someone's already clearly winning here. Sellers.
Well, but I'm just saying, I mean,
No, if they grab, yeah, if they're able to hold, yeah. I mean, the D high is very mechanical. Right off that C halfback and right off the
Yeah.
initial balance, the B low. So, and we're not seeing
now
like a trending market, right? We've got tech red, healthcare is green, staples green, energy green, financials red, discretionary red. Like, so there's not like any conviction. The breadth, though, like if you look at the NYSE advanced decline and the NASDAQ advanced decline, 1,700 and 1,300, almost 1,400. It's not looking great for the market to rally. But I think
I just want my trade to go through. That's it. That's all I care about.
are you long or short?
I'm sure. So the bot would have taken a short, and I basically got in and tried to play what the bot was playing because the new model isn't in place yet. And so I'm in the model effectively playing exactly what the bot would have done because I want to see I want to see if it gets in profit. I already originally lost 100 because it got stopped out. The bot doesn't have a stop, but I put a stop in because I didn't want to just blindly run with it. But I want to see where the bot gets out. So I mean, right now I'm about break even. So if it doesn't get continuation, then it'll stop me out at, I don't know, $100 down or whatever it is. But
And that's for AMD, right?
yeah,
Oh, AMD had a big gap down today too.
yeah, it did a pretty decent, the bot,
Oh, yeah,
but it
AMD.
didn't get in based on counts of the day. Up today, it got in counts based on yesterday. Because it looked at those closing counts and it saw closing counts, and because there were closing counts, at one of my new models is that it gets in the next day at a certain time. And it got in. And so I wanted to play it out and see how well it worked.
Looking good too, because it's fucking taking a bath.
Well, if it hadn't stopped me out, I'd be doing much better than I am right now, but yeah.
Oh, I bet you could sell some. Just
In
so
AMD?
start working out. Yeah.
You're gonna sell some 64s, 64 calls?
No, if I was gonna sell calls, I'd sell like 74 calls, but that wouldn't be worth
Oh,
any money.
64 calls. So 64 puts, you're gonna sell 64 puts.
Yeah. On a day like today when the market's going down and eventually it's gonna just teeter out and go back up. That's it for me. What's up with energy? I completely think it's increasing the formula. Oh, those are pre-splits. I was like, what the fuck? When's earnings for AMD?
Good question.
Coming up. Oh, here it is. 31st. Friday.
Wow, it came up, it hit the A low. AMD is still kind of in the shitter though.
Yeah, it is. Damn it. I was trying to get filled on the 5-quarter there. It never came down.
The bot didn't close out yet. Or would not have closed out yet. We're kind of in that same choppy mess right now that we were yesterday a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Pick making a new high and it made a higher low here. That's the first sign of strength there. We're back above the 50, which we know acts as like kind of an automatic trend. So at least we're breaking the trend there. VWAP is just 5 points above us now. Anyone got that long? Good for you. They didn't touch my entry. I was too far off. I haven't really done a lot of trading today, to be honest with you. I've taken a couple quick trades. And that's it. 57% by liquidity. So D period ends right at the C high. So another mechanical tap. So if you took a long, good for you. AMD's coming back down to the low. Now it's time to sell these. I'm gonna see default to 10. See what we can catch in a day. Put the order out there for a vertical, got filled. So we're short 67 puts and long 64 puts. A little vertical spread there. So if AMD catches a little bounce here, could collect some free money. Since AMD is still pushing on the lows, market bounces, AMD should get some relief. And we might even be able to close this thing in a day. And basically make $1. Good.
$1 per.
$1 per contract, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is where I try to stay at. $1 per contract, or else it's not really worth it.
Yeah, the bot is a little bit less
Well, I saw these call
Yes.
counts come in, and then they went away, and now they're coming back, and put counts kind of just dropped off pretty heavy.
Yeah, they did drop
Put
off
counts are
pretty heavy.
121, so it's not. Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, sellers are just not really selling anymore, but buyers aren't really stepping up yet either. So, but
Yeah,
AMD got a
it's
little.
pretty much just
Oh, go ahead. 50 SMA, not EMA. Where were we talking at? That's the EMA. Yeah, it's an EMA.
Oh, there we go. I'm out.
The bot got out?
Yeah, no, well, no, the bot's still in. I sold mine. I just wanted to get mine out in profit because I was $110 down, and so I wanted to make up for because it stopped me out. So I'm now $22 up for the day in my AMD. But obviously, if I had held, I would have done better. But I'm fine. I just wanted to not be negative this day, and I was like, I'll just play what the bot is playing, and it didn't quite work out as well as because that's stupid. I had added a stop, and that was my own fault. I'll let you guys know when the bucket's out.
Right.
The bot is in position to be able to get out right about here. Actually, it's a little bit above, so it's actually doing better than it needs to get out. I just need candle indicators to tell me to, or tell it to get out.
I mean, AMD is fucking smashing the low right now.
I should have held. Oh, I did fine. I don't need to make $1 million. That's what the whole fucking bot is for. That's how the whole
Right.
thing's supposed to work anyway. I just need to put that new model in place. I gotta test it out though. Trusting technology is always a mixed bag.
Yeah. A break below like the 13-12 area probably brings the market back down towards like the Globex low. Weak spot on the profile is 12.785. Yeah, I don't think AMD goes much below 67. 67.72 now. It kind of starts to find some buyers down there.
So the SPY would have gotten into a call.
Today?
Yeah, but I mean, of course, it's the AMD model, so there's no guarantees, but just based on what it currently has. And then NVIDIA would have gotten into a put. NVIDIA's put is doing well. It's only had put counts all day long.
Well, if you
The
look
SPY,
at the
Go ahead.
SPY comparatively, like here's the SPY. Here's the SPY here. Not really much range. It's just on like the 30-minute. But then if you look at like comparatively to like AMD,
yeah,
AMD is like
AMD is
straight
like
fucking
crazy,
down.
straight off the freaking edge of a cliff.
Yeah. So that call for it, SPY actually is probably just fairly unchanged. Maybe a little theta kill, but
Yeah, it's only slightly down.
Yeah.
What it would have been, it'd be $135 down, so nothing major. But it would have done 3 buys. Oh, I guess I should have held that AMD put. That's right. I'm the stopgap until the bot can actually play on its own.
The move
Okay,
lower in
so
AMD wasn't on a ton of volume.
so AMD peaked to the downside a few candles ago based on the data. So it's starting to ease up a little bit. I guess we'll see what the next candle holds. I gotta get my new bot or new model in play, dude. I just gotta buckle down and spend the time. This thing is already up 200 bucks. The bot would have been up 200 bucks per contract.
Nice.
And that's with 2 buys. Freaking.
4 contracts each time.
In this case, because of the counts from yesterday, it would have been in 2 contracts each time. So yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but mine does 4 contracts per buy. So today it would have done 8 contracts per buy because it would have doubled down based on the counts from the previous day, and it got in the same direction based on that. It's a whole long and complicated thing, but it's how the model works.
No, that makes sense because I remember you were explaining to me about the gap, what happens on the gap, and like that's the previous day information as well.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't saying that you wouldn't understand it. I was saying that it's boring. That's what I was saying.
Oh no,
Just so we're clear. I am 100% certain you would understand it.
I
It's
didn't.
just
Yeah,
like
I didn't take it like that.
when I drone on about the bot, you see people's eyes sort of glaze over there, and they're like, "Dude, I don't give a shit about the technical stuff. Just
Yo,
tell me,
the money.
does it make money?" That's exactly right.
Yeah,
They're like, cha-ching.
that's
all
all
they care
people care about. The crazy thing is like if you would take the time to understand it, or at least attempt to understand it, you'd be able to utilize the information a lot better.
Which is because here's the thing, this bot is fucking stupid. Like it does not know anything about anything. It just, all it knows is what the parameters I've given it and told it how to play. And I mean, there was one day the bot got out and I was like $400 up or something like that. So $100, $100 per contract. And it freaking went another, I don't even remember, it was like $2.50 or something like that. And it would have made an additional $3,300 if I had just let it play, if I had been the one playing it. So it made 400 and it would have made an additional 3,300
Yeah.
if I had been the one playing it, because I wouldn't have gotten it out. But it's because, I mean, the idea is that I want this thing to make me money when I'm sitting in freaking Cancun with a, you know, a drink in my hand,
Right.
sitting at the pool, and I don't even have to care, because I'll tell you right now, $400 and doing jack shit is better than having to sit there the entire day and make 3,700.
Right.
So you take, as long as it's making money and it's continuous, I don't give a shit. It's all about the bottom line.
And spreading the name Haven across the country and let people know.
That's part of it. I got to get that domain set up at some point. Hasn't jumped to the top of the list. I did buy it, but I haven't actually set it up.
Hey, Brad, you said to see the upside, we'd have to stay above that 13, but now we're lower to it. Do you think we're probably gonna go see no lower means?
The 13?
Yeah, you said if you wanted D to find a little bit to the upside, they'd have to hold it above 13, which they didn't, and now they're down here. So I'm assuming we might go a little bit lower. That was your process about it?
Right. Yeah. But I'm kind of using like at this point, I'm not in a trade, but I'm using that C low kind of as a barrier. So like I don't really want to be getting short down here at the D low. You know, I like those shorts up there around like that, you know, basically close to the open as you can get, because you could use it as a backstop basically. Excuse me. But then yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to be getting short the D low here because it's been almost 30 minutes. We haven't really gone anywhere. We're still inside the C period.
Okay.
So relatively unchanged. And if we start to get accepted back above that 13, then that could, you know, give us that confidence that we are gonna that C excess is gonna hold. And that's not saying that we want to be buying the 13 going long. What it's saying is if we start to fill this in, can't go any lower, then there's good odds eventually we're going to go back up. So you're still not taking like a breakout from 13 trying to go up. You're just placing a responsive long based off of like the market rotations. I would just like to see 13 get filled in. But like if I'd like to see it get filled in if the market doesn't continue lower.
All right.
But yeah, so now there's opportunity here. You see the weak spot, which is basically kind of right at 13. If E period opens up here 4 minutes and can't get back into B, you could fade that, look to attack the C low. You have a little bit of tapering on the low now again. And then 21 contracts on the real low. There's selling coming in down here. Vic has been getting held below zero, but hasn't really moved low. So we're seeing the tick not go high, but not go low either. But holding below zero, indicating, sellers are probably still in control. Back below that 50. We failed right on the VWAP. And it looks like we're gonna get some continuation in the weighted AD as well. 2 minutes until E period opens up though. And tempo's pretty slow for the most part. There it goes, E period. So they're holding price down here looking for help at this point. Oh my goodness. Call puts 0 to 211. So puts heavy at this low, but we're not going lower. Not yet, at least. Tick trying to climb above 0. Damn. Oh, again. I tried to get filled at 550 again and just fucking missed it. Oh. Weighted AD's trying to go lower here. Tick's back below 0. See if the tick can go lower. Still below that 50. Alec Baldwin to be charged with involuntary manslaughter. He's rich though, so he'll probably just get fucking house arrest. Alright guys, well I'm gonna end it here. I mean, it's pretty much just doing nothing at this point. I'll share my screen in the Discord, so if anyone want to pop in and if you want to see the screen, I'll share my screen. But I'm gonna go ahead and catch a workout and then go get some lunch. But you guys have
Alright, you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure that you are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. And I will catch you guys tomorrow.